Hi, I'm your host Bill Brewer, and thanks for joining us on this episode of The Community Producers, a monthly program produced by community volunteers like myself. We begin this month in Cranbrook with a look ahead to the Kootenay Rockies Gran Fondo.
We're looking ahead to September, and the Kootenay Rockies Gran Fondo is set to go. It's interesting this year, Glenn Dobie, hello.
Hello.
We had smoke last year because of the fires, so you missed a year.
We certainly did, and it was very frustrating for both cyclists and our Sunrise Rotary Club, but we regrouped quickly and we prepared for 2018, and here we are.
It seemed like the participants were pretty practical about it, though. Right away they said, hey, we'll come next year if you do it next year. Right?
Exactly, they did, and we offered them either a full refund or a deferral, and we're proud right now that we're just short of capacity of 500 riders, so we're almost sold out.
It's interesting, you use 500 because you said the way the route is designed and some of the trails, etc., as you go up the North Star Trail, you're best at 500. Too many would saturate it a little bit, wouldn't it?
Yeah, each year we've grown from our initial start of 230 riders to 500. Each year we've grown 75. We've been able to accommodate them well on the trail. So we'll do a post-ride analysis. If we can grow a small number, we may, or we may keep it at 500.
Last year when we talked around this time, in between time, you've had some great promotion from as far away as Texas and profile magazines that have been talking about this Kootenay Rockies Fondo, making it the one to come to.
Yes, we were very pleased with having the Texas listing us on the North American Gran Fondo Guide, Canadian Cycling Magazine, and I think more exciting for us is we've had cyclists from Switzerland, England, Nova Scotia, New Brunswick join us, so that's quite exciting.
It's going to be a little sweeter this year, we were talking off camera.
Yes, we were. Sweet Gestures is providing a nice hand-dipped dark chocolate, so when cyclists are checking in, while they're in the line, they'll have to sample one of their wares.
Some of the differences are what will be happening around the base area, so the start-finish will be at St. Eugene like always. Any other changes on the route then?
No, the route's really nailed down, and we talked to cyclists, and most cyclists call it just the most favorite route that they have on the cycling circuit.
Can we talk a bit about the history of it? Because when you get it going, whenever you start an event, it always takes a while to build it up. Has it got to where you wanted to? You have said that with numbers, but the vision, has the vision turned out the way you'd envisioned it to be?
Yeah, I think the vision has. What we really wanted to create was a real enjoyable cycling experience, particularly for the what we call the piccolo riders. The piccolo are the recreational riders who ride the 58K. The Gran riders, they're going to come. But we've had a lot of personal stories of people who set that as a challenge, as a health challenge, and having them cross the finish line really gives us a sense of pride.
It's interesting too, because when you get in the Platzel, it's very celebratory there, isn't it?
It is. After we did the Platzel the first year, it was nicknamed the Tour de Platzel after the Tour de France, so it was quite a compliment.
While we're talking cycling here, they've put up bike racks around the city of Cranbrook here. There's been lots happening too since last year outside of the actual Fondo that gets cyclists interested when they're motoring around the city then.
Yeah, the bike racks came out of the funds that we raised to install 38 bike racks throughout downtown Cranbrook. Another program that's come out of it's called the We Bike Elementary Program. So every student in Cranbrook, Jaffrey, and parts of Kimberley have all experienced 3 one-hour cycling instructional lessons for grade 4, and we're really proud of that program. I think it goes without mention too. Our sponsors, both our title sponsor Taylor Adams and the local sponsors, they stood with us with last year's frustration of the forest fire. They've all come back, and we're really appreciative of their support. They've underwritten the event for 5 years, and that's what's helped us grow to where we're at.
Just one more before we go. They were talking about having a Fondo in Creston.
That's
They've
correct.
been modeling it through you. What's the talk back and forth on that one?
They approached us after our last Fondo, and we've had meetings with them in their Chamber of Commerce, just providing the advice that we have learned from the development of ours. Theirs will run 2 weeks after our Gran Fondo, so for local Kootenay residents, there's 2 events they can take part in.
September the 8th.
September the 8th.
Kootenay Rockies Gran Fondo 2018. We're getting ready to roll. Glenn Dobie joining us on site here for the Community Producers.
The Great Fire of 1908 was a defining moment in Fernie's history, and now the city has a unique piece of community art which pays homage to that history.
This metal sculpture, entitled A Hardy Town, represents the resiliency of the city of Fernie, which has had to overcome 2 devastating fires in 1904 and 1908.
The 2 fires are something that is always mentioned about Fernie's history whenever we speak about it. So to have a permanent piece of art depicting that history really is amazing and really exciting.
It's the work of blacksmith Paul Reimer and artist Michael Heffer.
I think for any artist, working in your own community is a big privilege. You know, we've been embraced by Fernie and the whole artistic community here so well, and this is kind of like, it feels like a bit of a way of repaying the community.
In 1908, the Great Fire ripped through town, destroying over 1,000 buildings in an hour and a half. It was the last of 3 major disasters to hit Fernie in a 6-year period.
You know, we had the major mine disaster in 1902, which killed 130 men. Massive impact on the community. The 1904 fire, which destroyed a good portion of the commercial district. And then this. And so the community, which was only about 10 years old at the time, really had to bond together.
It would have been really easy after the 1908 fire, when there was only like 35 buildings left standing, for the citizens to just leave. But they didn't. They stayed. They were very resilient people, and they rebuilt.
It's that spirit which is reflected in the sculpture.
The main flat surfaces represent the buildings that were burned out after the fire. We kind of gave them a little bit more motion by leaning them in towards one another, but we also wanted that to imply people leaning on one another, like a community in the middle of a crisis. All you have left is the people, and so those people lean in on one another.
The curved metal pipes represent smoke and flames, and whether people get that, or even like the sculpture at all, Heffer says doesn't really matter.
It's already created some discussion where people don't necessarily understand it, but they talk about it, and they talk about it with their neighbor, and as a result, they end up talking about their values and what they believe about what Fernie is, and what should happen here, and who we are as a people.
Well, I think the first time people look at it, they're going to say, what is that? And so that will elicit a conversation in their mind, and hopefully they will stop, they will look, they will come into the art station, make inquiries, talk to the people, the business people, and just get to learn a little bit more about Fernie.
For Shaw TV and Fernie, I'm Drew Lyle.
After sitting vacant for several years, the old fire hall in Cranbrook has finally reopened its doors with a new look and a very different purpose. With a lot of hard work, this 89-year-old building, formerly known as Fire Hall Number 1, is now ready for the next 89 years as Fire Hall Kitchen and Tap.
We put a year of breathing dust and grinding and jackhammering and upgrading the building, and to see people in here laughing and having good times together with their friends is just the best, most rewarding feeling ever.
To actually get here and have people enjoying what we've been working so hard on is pretty magical.
It's the vision of business partners Jesse Roberts and Fred Williams, who would bring complementary skill sets to the project. Williams a background in construction, and Roberts a background in the hospitality industry.
You can go spend, all the money and do the project, but unless there's a sustainable business behind that, then it's kind of all for naught. So to have that being built right alongside the construction, it was absolutely critical.
It was probably the most efficient way of doing things, him being sort of 70% focused on the construction and 30% focused on the business, and then my role being the exact opposite.
Even though nearly everything structurally within the building would need to be replaced, maintaining the building's heritage was a requirement.
It was really important to City Council that whoever put in a bid on the property, that they were going to maintain the integrity of the building. We weren't going to accept a proposal where the fire hall wasn't going to be the fire hall anymore.
The building's history can be seen throughout, with original wood from the old roof structure being used for the tables and bar, and exposed brick walls, which were uncovered during demolition.
These walls had 1 inch of plaster over them, and they were painted and had been painted for who knows how many times. We wound up pulling a sheet of plywood that the firemen had bolted on, and it pulled some of that plaster off and uncovered a section of it. And it was just the right color, and like, you can't replace 100-year-old brick with new brick and have it look the same.
As the area's first tap house, with craft beer as the centerpiece, Roberts admits it was a bit of a gamble, but one that he and Williams were willing to take.
Some might say that Cranbrook is a fairly blue-collar town. Were they ready for a craft beer house with 20 taps from all over British Columbia? We thought so.
Early indications are they were right. In fact, the fire hall's popularity is even proving to be a shot in the arm for downtown Cranbrook.
We've seen a fair bit of real estate move in the downtown over the past few months. So I think there's inspired confidence from developers, business investors, business owners in Cranbrook's downtown core.
For the community producers in Cranbrook, I'm Bill Brewer. Spirit Rock Climbing Center in Kimberley first opened its doors in December 2014, and since then has helped countless people develop a passion for climbing. Up next, junior reporter Jada Haywood takes us for a visit.
Here in Kimberley, and I'm joined by Kevin Blades, one of the 3 founding owners of Spirit Rock Climbing Center. What inspired you to make your own climbing center?
There was nothing like it in the area, and we were avid climbers, the 3 of us, and it's a really long winter to not be climbing, and there was a need within the community, so we felt, let's give this a shot and see if it'll work as a business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are some of the challenges that you faced while making this gym?
Building outside the box. In the area, not a lot of people are used to building a big hollow space that we've got here. And then not filling it up with floors, finding all the parts and equipment, the holds, getting building permits from the city, which was actually relatively easy because there's strong pro-business, which was great. And yeah, just getting things right the first time because we weren't going to get a second chance to build.
Tell me, what makes Spirit Rock special or different from other climbing centers?
I think the biggest thing is our strong sense of community. We really draw in a lot of kids, we bring friends in, we work well with them. We've got all levels of climbing for everyone. You know, we've got our beginners kids wall for little people. We've got the rope climbing with really hard climbing up above. And then up there, we've got a bouldering area, and that allows people to climb without ropes.
When somebody new comes into Spirit Rock, how do you turn them into a climber?
Well, we introduce them to the systems. We get them dressed. We've got climbing shoes, harnesses, just small equipment that you need, and then we kind of turn them loose for a little while, and then we start coaching, or we run kids camps, kids clubs, and we even do adult courses and everything.
Nice.
So should we turn you into a climber?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
This is really scary.
I've been down this road before and I've seen a thing or two. I've met every devil, so I'm not afraid of you. I've been knocked down, pushed down,
That was so fun. What's the best part about owning your own climbing gym?
Definitely the climbing. I get to climb pretty much whenever I want, and meeting lots of really cool people. Made a lot of friends through here, so it's fantastic.
Thank you so much for having us out.
A pleasure.
In November 2015, the Canal Flats sawmill would close after nearly 90 years of operation. Now, with the recent sale of the site, there's a new sense of optimism in the air.
For the first time in years, there's action at the site of the old mill in Canal Flats as it begins a transformation into a fabrication shop and data center.
It's hard to tell a person who lost his union job at a sawmill that it's actually going to be better for them, but we actually believe that the sawmill going down might be the best thing that ever happened to Canal Flats.
The mill was the town's lifeblood for nearly 90 years. Its closure was a devastating blow for the people of Canal Flats.
It was our identity, so it was very hard for us to see that go, and it was almost like losing a member of the family.
Now the question became what to do with the 1,000 acres of land still owned by Canfor, with anything and everything on the table.
Now is the time to get new exciting projects going. We have a blank canvas. We're open to any kind of suggestion that will come our way.
That's where Brian Fair comes in, a business person with strong connections to the area. When Canfor put the old mill site on the market, he was eager to snap it up.
I've been coming to the valley since 1976 working and always knowing that it's the nicest valley in British Columbia. When I saw this site for sale, I knew I had to buy it.
Fair is the managing director of Bid Group, an organization which, among other things, builds sawmills. Very different from what he has planned here, however.
We have a contract already to build data farms, data server farms. And so we see a huge potential in much fancier technology and not nearly as dirty and loud as what there was in a sawmill.
Since purchasing the site, Fair has hired 20 local staff with a long-term focus to provide employment and training for as many local workers as possible.
If we bring in outside people, they'll either fall in love with the valley and stay, like I did, or they will leave. So we're way better off to train locally.
However, to get the project off the ground, the local workforce has been supplemented with workers from around the province, including site supervisor Mike Crook.
The future in this area is so bright with this development. The plans are endless and the possibilities are endless.
It's been a positive change for Crook, who has made the full-time move to Canal Flats with his family.
I've been out of town working in construction my whole life, 27 years on the road now, and to be home every night with the kids and the family, it's a great lifestyle change.
There's people from outside of Canal Flats that have started work there and that have now purchased homes here in the village, and which is very exciting for us.
Fair expects to have at least 100 employees working at the tech center by June 2019.
Who knew that 3 short years later we now have the prospect of almost the same amount of jobs coming back to the village.
Construction of the data center is scheduled to begin in August, with the first data pods expected to be up and running by October. For the community producers in Canal Flats, I'm Donna Granger.
That's all the time we have here on this episode of The Community Producers. I'm Bill Brewer. Thanks for watching.